Okay, so the first thing I want to use out of the September's Makers box is this beautiful plaid paper from Upcycled. I love the colors of it. I loved how neutral it was, and I love how big it was. So I decided to use that in a tray. So that's going to be the bottom of my tray. I'm just cutting it out. I laid it in there and kind of marked it with my fingernails actually and cut it out. I'm going to give it 2 coats of white paint. I always love to use a white colored paint whenever I'm decoupaging. It just makes the colors more true and vibrant. And I'm just giving it a once over with my heat gun, and now I'm adding my decoupage medium. So I'm using DIY's liquid patina, and I'm going to do a little bit at a time here. It just kind of makes it easier when you're using a big sheet of decoupage paper. So I'm coming down probably about, I'd say 3 inches to start. Just giving it a nice good coat. I'm lining up the corners of the paper to give me a good starting point. And then I'm just going to press it down to get it started. And I'll speed this up, but that's what I'll just keep lifting the paper up, painting the decoupage medium underneath, and then laying it back down. Once I get it all down, I'm going to give it a spritz of water, and then I'm adding my liquid patina on top of the paper. Now, to remove any wrinkles, I like to just use saran wrap and my brayer by IOD. So I just lay the saran wrap down on top. I use my brayer just rolling all over. If you don't have a brayer, you can just roll up the saran wrap and just kind of use your hand and press down in areas. But I really do love the brayer. The wrinkles just seem to disappear. And then I'm going to give it one more coat of the liquid patina because the saran wrap does take a lot of it off. And so once that dries, I'm coming in here, and I had a little overlap with the paper, so it didn't fit exactly within the tray. Sometimes I will take an X-Acto knife and kind of cut it off, but most of the time it's just easier to paint over the paper. You cannot even see it. I did have to do 2 coats, but just using a small artist brush and just going right over where the paper overlaid onto the tray, and it really cleans it up nicely. So I just went around each side with my artist brush doing the same thing, and again I did 2 coats, and there you have it. So I really love how that turned out. I think it's super cute. I love that paper. Okay, so here I'm going to use the other paper. There's another large recycled paper in there, and it's really pretty. I made that one book that you see standing there, and I forgot to hit record on my video. So this is the second book that I'm making, but I'm just painting the book cover with, again, a white paint. I'm also painting the inside covers of the books with the same paint. I'm not going to do anything to the inside covers other than paint, but it really helps with to prevent warping when you paint the inside covers as well as the front. So I'm doing that, and here I'm going to dry it real quick. And one thing I wanted to note about this paper, it's so cool because it also had the plaid design kind of throughout this paper. So I love how that coordinated. But anyway, so I just laid out the section of the paper that I wanted on the book and just cut it out. And I'm going to use the same liquid patina that I used in the tray. Paint that on the top cover and just do your normal decoupage procedure. I did, like I said, cut out the paper, but you don't have to cut it exactly to the size of the book because I always have mine overhang a little bit, and then once it dries, you will just sand those edges off to give you a clean edge. So here I'm just getting it laid down smooth. I do spritz it with water. Sometimes it helps the paper stretch a little bit. So I will continue just going around the book, painting on the liquid patina in sections. I'm doing the spine. And now I'll just come back on top again with the liquid patina. Here I'm using the plastic wrap, once again the saran wrap, and my brayer, rolling out any wrinkles. I'll add a little bit more liquid patina on top, and then we will repeat the same process on the back side of the book. Okay, so the books have dried, and this is where I'm taking a sanding block and I'm just going to sand off the paper that is overhanging, and it will give you just a really nice clean edge. Just a fine sanding block will do. You don't need it to be too heavy of a grit. And when you're sanding, it's best if you kind of like sand downwards away from the book. That way you won't pull your paper down. But just be gentle with it. You don't want to, you don't want to be too rough with it. But anyway, you should get a nice clean edge with this. So I will just do both books, and then we'll move on. A little something extra I like to do to most of my decoupage books is to add a little gold edging. So I'm using, this is just a little flat wooden tool. You can use anything, even a popsicle stick. And that's actually, I know it's not in the camera, but I'm actually using like a popsicle stick and rubbing the paint on that little wooden tool, and then I just, as you see right there, I'm just rubbing it down the edges. It just gives it a pretty little finish. And so I just did that to both books, front and back, and there you go. Now you also could add, a little mold or whatever else you would like. So here is another little project. I am taking this is a candle. It's actually one of the DIY candles. And it's really, it's a little mason jar type candle. So I decided I wanted to just paint that. And the paints that, two of the paints that are in with the maker's box are fusion colors. And that paint really does well on glass. I remember that. I don't use fusion a lot, but I have in the past, and I do remember it doing really well on glass. It's it dries really hard. So here I'm using that the really pretty teal color, and I just put a piece of painter's tape around, just kind of halfway up around. It really is like 1/3 up. Just taped it around, and I'm painting below the tape. Just a nice smooth coat. I don't want to overload it. And so while it is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape. You know, you could wait till it dried if you wanted. You know, sometimes when the paint dries and I'm removing tape like this, it's just not as clean of an edge. And so I just went ahead, took the tape off. I knew I could come back and touch it up if need be. And so I love how that looked, and so I decided I wanted to do another stripe, but I wanted the white of the candle to show through. So I'm going to take another piece of painter's tape, and this is once that teal color had dried, and I'm coming up maybe 1/4 of an inch past the blue line. So I will have a little small strip of the white candle showing between the two painted colors. Now, here I'm using the DIY Summer Crush, and DIY paint does really well on glass as well. However, DIY paint really needs a top coat. So after I painted this on, I decided to change my mind, which, you know, I do quite often in just midstream. Because it needed a top coat, I thought, well, I think I'm gonna use the other fusion color, which was that really rich brown color. So after that dried, I brushed just right over the Summer Crush and removed that tape as well while the paint was still wet. And then I decided just to add a little jute string around the candle. I thought it went really well with the colors, but you know, you could always use whatever color ribbon you have and just coordinate it with whatever paint colors you use. But this is the kicker. This is a product that I absolutely love. It's called Sheer Bliss. It is a metallic, it's a transparent metallic paint. So no matter what you put it on top of, it's gonna give it just a beautiful metallic shimmer. So I decided to paint that, and this is a sealer. So you could use those DIY colors, and this would have been perfect over that. I just thought if you did not, you know, want to seal on the glass, anything on the glass, the fusion paints really do well. But anyway, so I'm just taking an artist brush and just painting just over the painted areas, and I absolutely love how this turned out. I plan on doing a lot more of these. Now the key to using this paint is to put on thin coats and don't overwork it. So just lightly brush on thin coats and let it be. This paint has mica powders in it, and so they need to be stirred up and evenly distributed throughout the paint. And there you see how shiny. And now it will have a little white kind of finish before it dries, and then look, see, it dries crystal clear. And I just love that. I really love how that turned out. Now, this is a little wooden pumpkin that I had, and so I decided that I would paint that, and I'm going to do a little paint blending. And again, you will see I end up changing my mind. But let's start out with this. So I'm using the Summer Crush, And I'm gonna just use that white color that I've been using. This was, again, the Paint Couture paint, chalk style paint. And I'm just gonna simply start brushing on the Summer Crush, give that a coat of paint, and then I'm actually just gonna blend in mostly white, but I do end up adding a little bit of that Farm Fresh color before I change my mind completely. But I really do love how this turned out. I kind of wish I would have kept it like this, but I love the other version as well, so just keep watching for that. Now the key to blending is keeping your paints wet. So once I got the pumpkin covered with the Summer Crush, while it was still wet, I went in with the white paint that I've been using and just kind of blended those colors together. And this, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just keep painting until you get it like just the look that you like. And normally I will come back, with several layers of the color. This DIY paint does really well as far as creating texture because it is such a thick chalk style paint. So anyway, here I am. I'm just playing around. I'll just go back and forth with the Summer Crush and the white paint. I like to end, and I think I do add some of the Farm Fresh, like I said, but I really have it primarily just the orange and the white blend. And I like to end with white last is what I usually do. So I'll speed this up and then I will show you the other version. So see, I just went back and forth adding colors, just playing around because you never know until you try, right? So anyway, I just played around and I like it like this. But like I said, I changed my mind. I think that blue candle was throwing me a bit. But anyway, so I'm actually going to do a different technique on this. Kind of a blending technique, but it's more, I'm creating more texture. So I'm going to start out just like I did previously with the orange pumpkin. I'm going to give it a coat of that blue, the teal blue fusion color. And then while that is wet, I'm coming in with some white paint and just softening that color up a bit. And then I'm going to dry it before I start adding my texture. So to do that, I've got a palette knife here. And I just kind of put a little bit of paint on the palette knife and just scrape it on. Literally, I don't try to do any, get it on smooth or it's not full coverage. I just scrape it on and just with a light hand. And so what the palette knife does is, paint will dry and build up on that palette knife, and so it gives it a nice, just some nice texture, some little ridges in it, and then I will heat it again. So each time you add a different color, you need to dry that color because you don't want it to blend at this point. So I'm going to continue with this process. Here I'm using the same palette knife. I'm dipping it into the Farm Fresh, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the white. So, and I'm going back and forth until I get it, you know, just until the texture will build up and until I get the color that I want. And just, I'm going to dry, again, I'm going to dry it with my heat gun in between each color that I add. And the last color that I end up with is going to be white. So I'm going to give it one final dry here, and then I'm going to top coat it again, because I use mostly, you know, I use some of the DIY paint colors, and I do like to top coat that paint. And so I'm coming back in with the liquid patina, actually, which you know, that's what I used as my decoupage medium, but it also works great as a top coat. It doesn't have a lot of shine to it, so anyway, I just brush that on all over, and then I just let that dry. I just love how this one turned out as well. I love how those just those layers of texture built up right there. So now we have another little project, and I'm using just a little wood panel. I think this is a 5x7, and I'm just gonna give it a coat of white paint. I'm gonna be using a decoupage paper again, the little pumpkins by the Painted Photographer. And so again, I like to give my surfaces a coat of white paint when I'm using decoupage paper. I'll give it 2 coats of the white paint, and then I will dry that, and then we'll move on to putting the paper on. Again, I'm using DIY's liquid patina, and I'll just brush a coat of that onto the surface and lay the paper down. So I'm going to use the larger of the pumpkins. Just going to cut it out. Again, you do not have to cut, you know, the image or the paper the same size as your surface, because I'm going to sand those edges off just like I did on the books. So I'm just lining it up here where I want it to go. Mainly, you know, there's some little grass there at the bottom of the pumpkin, so I did want that to be at the bottom. And so I'm just going to line it up, smooth it down, and brush liquid patina on top of the paper. I will let that dry, and again I will come back with a sanding block and sand off the edges. Give it a nice clean edge once again. And then I want to make it, the whole thing, a little more cohesive by painting the sides of my little wood panel the same color as the background of the paper. So I'm going to take Farm Fresh, the DIY paint, and I'm going to again do a little, just a simple blending technique along the sides. I'm going to brush on the Farm Fresh, and then we're just going to, while that is still wet, brush on a little bit of the white, and you'll see it really just makes it one cohesive looking piece of art. And once it all dries, I'm coming back with the liquid patina to give it a nice protective top coat. But wait, there's more. Remember that Sheer Bliss that I used on the candle? Well, I thought I would give it a try on the pumpkins. You know, I always like a little shimmer during the holidays, so I just wanted to see, and I've used this a lot, y'all. It's one of my favorite products, probably. But anyway, so I'm just painting it just on the pumpkin, on each pumpkin, and then we will let that dry, and we'll see how it shimmers. I am never disappointed when I use this stuff. I think that it's just really pretty. I really love it. So anyway, y'all, that's it. Here are all of our projects. Again, there's the candle with the stripes. There's both of those have the shimmer. There's our books, and see how the little paper coordinates with the tray. And then my textured wooden pumpkin. I think this maker's box had some really good stuff in it this month. And so if you're interested in joining Sonnet's subscription monthly to get all of these fun products delivered right to your door, I will have all the information in the description. So thanks so much for watching.